Alright, hello. Since you guys have no way of understanding any commentary on the format whatsoever except through the medium of tier lists, here we are with my thoughts on the ban list because I didn't get to do a ban list reaction. This is coming in a little late, but we gotta pad out the content for a week somehow. You already got one video this week, you're not gonna get anything better. So let's start with the unlimits, honestly. So first, quick fix. Was this a good change? Sure. I am indifferent to Spiral. I didn't play in Spiral format, and I haven't played Spiral. Maybe I'll try it out in Master Duel or something to see how I feel. But I'm indifferent to this. I feel like this card's not going to do anything at 3, so yeah, sure, I can go to 3. But that's pretty much how I feel about it. Recital, this is a fantastic change. This card should always have been at 3. It was not a needed hit. This deck is completely fine at full power. Please bring back Simorg, Konami. You printed Sprite Elf. You can give us back Simorg. Birdman, fine hit. This card probably could have come back to 3 a long time ago. Steam Cloak, yeah, fine. Like, I mean, I'll put these in C because like these are just hits that I don't care about. Like, it's like, yep, this could have come back ages ago. It doesn't change anything. Lotus. What? I'm kind of scared. I feel like this is probably not going to do anything, but I'm kind of scared that they're just like, yeah, let's just put back the FDK enabler completely unerrated. Even if this doesn't do anything now, I think it could in like a year or 2, and I'm kind of worried about that, so I'm not looking forward to this if it does see any play. Multi-role, indifferent mostly. I think this serves to give Striker a unrespondable card sometimes that will open. You don't really want to search this turn 1 because you only really get it when you're already far ahead, but it does basically guarantee you going +4 in the end phase when you do draw it, so I'm not really a fan of them having access to 3 of it, but that isn't really the main issue on this list. I don't think it really changes much in terms of power level. Face Off, good unhit. This needed to happen. I don't think the card's that good. It probably should have come up a long time ago. Huh? This card shouldn't have been printed, but semiing it? What? What? How? What? What? Orange Light, no. No, this... No, like... There's a change, like, limiting Gamma, sure, I get, right? But, like, why do you then decide, oh, Fairy decks just get to have Gamma, though, too? Like, no, this card's disgusting. This card should not be at 3 or at 2. Don't want Ishizu tier to have access to this, especially since that deck's probably playable now with Cash Hit. Starter... What? They play this at 1. Like, this is a hit to pure Sprite, which is not a competitive list. Pointless hit. But the utterly worst hit, of course, of the entire list is Fountain. This hit does literally nothing. There is no build of this deck that played 3, maybe Stun sometimes, but even then, I don't think they did. Utterly pointless hit, no idea why they did this. And I really don't like playing against Runic, so I really wish they'd done more. Limit would have been something. Limit on tip, I think, would have been better. Unicorn, again, what? I don't get it. Like, okay, I'll put this in C, because this is technically a power level hit, because now they open slightly less starters. I don't think it's enough, though. There was a lot on the semi-limited list this time. That was kind of interesting to me. Oh yeah, Engage. Why? The semi-limited section, I think, is the main problem with this list, because I look at these and they'll go, yeah, these all were terrible decisions. All of these suck. I really don't want to see this card at more than 1. Engage into Engage is pretty toxic, but just having access to multiple copies in the game is so crazy. This is better Pot of Greed. If you are doing anything, this is just better Pot of Greed, which is crazy to think about. Alright, so moving on to the limits. Sacred Tree, this is B-tier, because like this is a good hit in the sense that this was a deck that I thought was really toxic and I don't want to be around. But it isn't any higher because this is the wrong kit. This should have been Nat Beast to 0. Absolutely despise Nat Beast. I don't know why it's still in the game. This was not the correct hit, but at least they hit this deck, and I'm probably much less likely to have to deal with a Nat Beast in events. But otherwise, yeah, it's not really great. This though, oh, I hate Circular. I hate Mathmech. Such a boring deck. Such an unfun matchup. Very glad to see him massively hurt. Really, really happy about this, and I know Josh Schmidt is too. On the opposite end though, purely of the 2 new decks that was hit in this list is the one that I found far more interesting and interactive to play against, despite the fact that his Tower's Turbo. I actually thought it was one of the more fun decks to play against this format, though there wasn't very many of those. So I'm kind of just surprised that they just kind of killed it. Like, this is probably the biggest limit they could have done at all. Like, this is basically unsearchable except by the random excavates. You know, Lily can't add players, so there's no real way to access this. You have to hope for the 1 in 3 off of My Friend or the random excavate off of Purely itself. Really a shame that they just cannot consistently set up the turn 1 board anymore, and it has to like facilitate like a turn 2 gameplay now, which I don't think works that well in this format. So yeah, shame, real shame. My boy is here. He is risen. He is risen. And, you know, it's the year of the fires and pyros. We knew he was coming back. It was pretty obvious. I think that in time they all realize that all the Dragon Rulers are just completely fine at 3 and move him and Tempest to 3 or to 2 and maybe bring back Redox and then eventually Tidal when they realize it's terrible. But for now, very happy to see my boy at 1. You know, I will try and force him in Volcanics. I've been picking up stuff for that. So very excited to try that out as a little bit of a rogue contender. I know he's not probably playable, but he's neat, and I will look forward to trying him out. Next up on the limits, though, is Gamma, and fuck this card. So, the only reason this is an A instead of S tier is this should have been banned. Gamma is probably the best negation hand trap in the game. It just does so much, and it's crazy going first or second. If it's going first, you just get to make a free level 8 synchro, which is absurd. With the sheer number of powerful level 8 synchros in the game, there's just so much you could do, and the fact they can just make Savage, for example, right now is utterly insane. And while Gamma is legal, I don't think they'll ever be able to bring back Chaos Ruler. They might actually now with it limited. But yeah, I think this card should not be in the game. Obviously, there's the issue of Droll and Shifter. It was like the main out to them, and those cards should have been banned. That's like one of the main issues with this list. It did not hit those cards that are still game winning by themselves when they resolve. Hopefully people will be on less Droll since Super Heavy's kind of out of the format now, but I'm not too hopeful of that. I think it's still going to see a lot of play, especially in sideboards. And yeah, Shifter is obviously going to see a lot of play as time goes on. Not happy about that at all. So yeah, I understand why people are upset that Gamma went down because it was really good for those cards, but I think it's really toxic anyway into everything else. So I'm pretty happy to not see myself getting gammered and essentially getting 2 for 1 off of 1 hand trap. Next up, Danglong. Why? I know he's funny, and I know a couple people have predicted this. I know a couple people that are going to be making a fair bit of money from this. But yeah, this card should not have come back. This card is way too good. Is way too good of an extender. I don't think this will necessarily make like Sword Soul a tiered deck or anything. Maybe like tier 3, tier 2. But I think this just really... One of my main problems with the current like metagame is that every new synchro deck is either turboing into a board like Sword Soul, where you have Baron plus some interaction and really consistently, or a 10-minute combo where you end on Appaloosa, Savage, Baron, you go through Excel Synchro, and now that line will just be awesome, including Danglong, and now you have a negate for Dark Ruler and cards like that, searchable in Archetype. I really don't like this. I'm going to end on the same generic negation synchro for the next 5 years, style that synchro decks have taken now. You know, how long have people been ending on Appaloosa in every single combo? How long have people been ending on Borrowed Savage? And now Baron has pretty much been the best synchro in the game since it released 2 years ago. Think about it now, it's almost 2 full years since this card's been in the game, and has been in every single metagame since, because it is just the best synchro in the game. So yeah, I really don't like them bringing back basically another Baron into the format that is really good at combo extending as well as just being a negate at the end of the combo. Really don't like that they brought this back, and I think it will just cause more problems. I can even see it or something like Baron getting banned because they realize there's just too many generic negates in synchro at one time. Alright, final limit, Arise Heart. Good hit, should have been banned. This should have been banned, but I'll accept the limit. It is a very significant hit. It makes the deck a lot weaker. They basically lose to the first Arise Heart being outed. I'm kind of happy with that, I think. I don't know where the deck's going to go now, if I go to like a more back row heavy, more control style deck, or if it doesn't survive at all, but I'm very happy now that I can normal summon Albaz and win the game instantly. Okay, bans. Now this is a pretty easy one. Stein. Thank God they got rid of this card. Stein was banned for being a disgusting FTK enabler. And then they brought it back recently. And now it's been banned again for being a disgusting FTK enabler. Hopefully now they'll realize that summon any fusion monster is kind of disgusting. a pointer. This card was really toxic at 3, and what the limit essentially achieved on it was only decks that can search trap cards, like Labyrinth, can play this card. Some people even topped some events, like Irish Nats was the one I can think of off the top of my head, but I know there was others, playing Trap Tracks in Kashtira to search this, because it turns out it's really crazy to just get that hand knowledge and hand rip on turn 1. Yeah, this card was absolutely disgusting, and I'm so glad it's gone. You know, the dust shoots and the pointers of the world hopefully will not resurge again, but I'm sure they'll just print another one in a couple of years. A moment of peace. Scarecrow, so... Obviously, this was very early to hit a deck. Obviously, this deck maybe should have been given a little more time to live. However, I found the Super Heavy matchup to be one of the least fun and uninteractive matchups I've ever played. Essentially, this deck was either you draw them, or they build an unbeatable board, maybe you draw exactly the interruptions for that, or they were playing some kind of disgusting endboard piece that won the game automatically, like Nat Beast or Spell Canceller, in which case nothing mattered and you just lost automatically. Yeah, this deck sucks to play against. I'm sure it still exists without this, but this basically means they don't just have a Link 1 that turns their entire combo on by itself. Konami's slowly realizing that every Link 1 in the game is broken and the Link 1 should not be in the game. One day they will all be banned and we will rejoice, but for now we have to deal with the fact that you can go normal summon Ibli, link into Lingariba. Expulsion. Good hit. This is only not in the S tier because, like, this was very expected. And this was barely standard. In fact, I don't even know this goes in A. This is like, okay, this is fine. Like, obviously this hit needed to happen, but like, doesn't really fix the overall problem with these floodgates exist in the game. All it does is mean that for now they're not going to see play again, but I give it maybe half a year before Gimmick Puppet Nightmare is summoned to the opponent's field in some other deck, or some other deck finds a way to fit in a branded engine that makes Sanctifier, and then Sanctifier gets banned, and oh, we've hurt branded now, instead of actually hitting the problem, which are all these floodgates. And I understand that it feels like pointless bloating to put like 20 more cards on the ban list, but if it just got rid of those games where your opponent goes first, sets 4, flips up a bunch of floodgates, or activates the hand trap floodgate that ends the game, or builds up their combo and summons a floodgate to your board that ends your turn. If they just got rid of all those cards, yes, it would be a huge number of hits. Yes, it would be an insane bloating of the list. But I would much prefer a longer list than the every once in a while game where I automatically lose because X floodgate exists. And I don't really understand the mindset of I would rather a shorter list than a better game. So hopefully they do something more about that in the future. This was a lot of hits on this list. This was a huge list, 25 hits. So it seems that they're more willing to go for bigger lists again, and I hope they stick to it, because some of these cards really need to go. It's kind of worrying that all these Floodgates and Labyrinth plays went completely unhit. Of course, they lost Gamma, which is a decent hit to them, but I think they needed to lose some of these trap Floodgates, like D-Barrier, which has been around for 6 years now, hasn't it been? 2017, I think, and it's just disgusting. It's insane that that card's still legal. And finally, we had to leave him to last because he's my favorite hit of call. Oh, this man had to be hit not just because he was unfun, uninteractive, super powerful, facilitated the 9 zone lock, the 7 zone lock, the 5 zone lock. Not just because of that, but because this card, by existing in a specific deck's extra deck, required you to build your own extra deck around its existence. And no individual card should be so powerful that it forces you to change the ratios in your extra deck, not even to like beat it or play around it or like have a way to interact with it. Like, it's fine to say, it's fine for a card to be strong enough, for example, that you play a new card in your extra deck to beat it or play around or whatever. Like, a lot of branded players started playing Dragoon recently because it's really good into cash. That's fine. The requirement for targeting protection being teched into the extra deck, That's a cool and interesting way of changing deck building around a specific deck in the format. Diabolos didn't do that. Diabolos said, you have to cut cards out of your extra deck to fit in second copies of like 5 of your cards, because if Diabolos hits any of them, you basically lost the game instantly. It's one thing to, build an uninteractive board or combo that your opponent just can't play under, like lock them out of activating cards. It is another to directly impact your opponent's deck list before they even sit down at the table. And I guess that might be a controversial thing to say, but I think that is the worst way of hurting gameplay, is to fundamentally change deck building in a bad way. Not in a way that makes the deck more interesting or gives you plays around something, but just you have to make your deck worse because this card exists, and the changes you make don't actually make you more likely to win, they just mean you won't instantly lose. That is the worst way that a deck can interact with you. So yeah, he's gone. He will never grace this world again. It's really crazy. So many prize cards end up getting banned. In fact, 2 got banned on this list. Maybe they were onto something with printing another Verse Dragon. It's very unlikely that that gets hit. Well, thanks very much for watching. I'll try and find something good to put out this week. Probably be another episode of Circus going up soon. Adios.